Hello everyone. So spring 2026 has been huge for Huawei and HarmonyOS. Just yesterday, the 20th of April, they had a huge event where I think it's the biggest event I've seen them done, where they had a lot of new stuff. They had a new foldable, a new Pura, new MateBook, AI glasses, new speakers, the whole shebang. But there are also some news that has not come through release events of products, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening to HarmonyOS this spring. So in this top 5, I will give you my personal favorites that has been announced recently or released recently. Let's go. So at number 5, we have the AI glasses, the specs. So out of all of the things that they announced on the April 20 event, these are the ones that I'm looking forward most. I'm not sure if it will be very gimmicky or if it works good. According to Huawei, it can translate 20 languages, which will be really useful for me since I hear a lot of Chinese and my Chinese is not that good, even though it's getting better. So I think I can use it very often, which is very nice. And what about the specs for the specs? They are about 36.5 grams, and according to Huawei, they feel like normal glasses, about the same weight. They use a titanium hinge, and according to Huawei, that gives them a 21% better grip stability, whatever that means. And so I think I need to go to the store to try this out, see how they look, see how they feel, and maybe test how well it works with English, for example, because I know Celia or Xiaoyi has some issues with English. Sometimes you can query it in English, but it will answer back in Chinese. So I'm afraid this might be an issue with them. At launch, there will be 3 different styles, all circular. Titanium half frame, optical in titanium gray, classic full frame, optical in modern black, and a classic full frame sunglasses in flowing silver. Later on May 20, they will release a square version, a SACE square version that was also announced on the event. They are, according to Huawei, they are IP54 dust and water resistance, which I guess they need to be. So what does these glasses actually do? Well, it integrates with Xiaoyi or Celia, and there's 2 ways to wake Xiaoyi: voice or dedicated AI button on the left temple. The flagship feature is something they call Xiaoyi sees the world, which means that the glasses is looking at what you are looking at. And then Xiaoyi can identify it. And according to Huawei, it's 90% pointing recognition accuracy. As they showed in the demo, you can, for example, point at a plant and ask Xiaoyi to identify it, or you can point at food and it can tell you the amount of calories in the food, for example. The camera is also a big piece. It's a 12 megapixel with a 0.8-inch sensor. It's the first glasses to support HDR vivid photography. So you can live stream with these glasses, and it supports, for example, Douyin, Xiaohongshu, Kuaishou, and Bilibili directly. And you can also, of course, record. I think this is something that is interesting for me because sometimes I go to events and stuff, and it's annoying to have a camera in everyone's faces. And I think this kind of point of view would be nice. So I think I will get these ones, and I will try to make some content with them. But the big feature, I think, is, of course, the translation. So it's a real-time simultaneous translation across 20 languages. So this is great for me. If you travel, you can record a video at the same time, so you can get translations, which is kind of really nice use case. And of course, the glasses also have built-in speakers. And the battery life is supposed to be 12 hours all day. So it's a 12-hour battery, 8 hours of continuous voice calls. And they cost around 2,500 yuan, which is about $350. At number 4, we have the Pura X Max. This was also announced on the April 20 event. Visually, I think it's the most exciting product in the whole launch. I was a huge fan of the Pura X. I made some videos on it before, maybe you've seen them. And I think what the Pura X Max does is that it solves the issue that was with the outer screen. Now, the outer screen is more in a phone format, which makes it more useful. The old screen was a little bit too small. It's mainly for notifications, and you can do some light reading, maybe read your messages and so on, but it was kind of hard to interact with because it was too small. So the new Max upgrade both of these screens. The inner screen goes from 6.3 inch to 7.7, which is quite big. And the outer screen goes from 3.5 square to 5.4 phone shaped. And the whole device is shaped like an A4. The new Pura X Max comes with the Kirin 9030 Pro chip, which is the most powerful mobile chip that Huawei has at the moment. And the old version had the 9020 chip. And the battery in the old one was 4,720 milliamps and hours, and the new one is 5,300. An interesting thing in the event was that Huawei kind of marketed this almost like a pad. Along with this phone, Huawei also announced a new pencil, the Mini Free Stylus, or Mini Free Pen. And they showed a lot of features together with this pen. And there's a new app called Born to Draw, which they showed off a lot. And so it's very interesting that they marketed this more as a pad than a phone. There was a lot of pad features, which is interesting. The reason why this is number 4 is because I think the price is a bit high. It starts at 10,999 yuan, which is over $1,500. And that is quite a lot. And the collector's edition goes up to almost 14,000 yuan, which is nearly $1,800. And Yu Shengdong, the main guy at the event, he said this at this stage, that his literal quote is something like, "Our cost pressure is very high, chip and memory prices have gone up significantly, and this phone is not for most people. It's a Halo product," as they call it. And you can see that, or you can hear that on the reveal of the price, that a lot of people think it's cool, but they realize that this is not something that most people will have, which is a shame, because it's a really cool device, I think. And that is why it's number 4. If the price has been a couple of thousand lower, it would be higher up on this list. At number 3, we have one thing that was not discussed at the release event, and that is something that is huge for developers, and that is Flutter for HarmonyOS. So let me show you what that means. So here is an app I built myself with Flutter, same code base, running on iOS, running on Android, and running on HarmonyOS. There is no 3 separate code bases, no porting, one Flutter project, 3 platforms. And this is the big story, because getting an app into HarmonyOS in 2026 is not as hard as it was in 2025. At the moment, the Flutter Open Harmony community has about 300 third-party libraries already adapted, and there's 200 more planned for 2026. And they have committed to quarter releases, so the lag behind the official Flutter is shrinking fast. But the Flutter Open Harmony community is obviously not something that is fully or funded by Google. It's a open source community, and I think those guys have done a great job, and I'm really thankful to them. So good job, guys. And I'm pretty sure I will develop more and more apps in Flutter in the future. Thank you so much. And at number 2, we have the new MateBook for HarmonyOS Edition. So before, we had 2 computers that could run HarmonyOS. We had the Fold, which was a really expensive double foldable full screen, and it was mainly, I think, a Halo product for a rich businessman who wants to show up the cool tech. And then we have, of course, the MateBook Pro, which I have, which is a great product, but I think this was meant for early adopters and people who want to develop for HarmonyOS. It was not really a mass marketed product, but the MateBook 14 is a mass market product, which is great. The pricing is a little bit lower. It starts at 6,599 yuan in the basic version, and it comes in 3 colors: cherry pink gold, wild green, and deep space gray. And for the specs, it comes with the Kirin X90 PC chip, the same as in the MateBook Pro. So it's not a mobile chip, it's a purpose PC built chip. The max specification is 32 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. And I think the basic edition is gigabytes of RAM and 512 megabytes of storage. It's a 14.2 inch OLED screen at 2880 x 1920, 120 Hz, and it's 14.5 millimeters thick, and it's about 1.33 kilograms. And the battery life is pretty good. It's 21 hours of offline video watching, or 20 hours of online. So that's basically a full season of Star Trek Deep Space Nine or something like that. Good show. So I think this PC obviously is great, because this means that more people will have access to the HarmonyOS PC OS. And if it can be more mass marketed, we will get more apps and more people involved. And I think they are targeting younger people here. You can see that there's I think they are trying to target students or young professionals with this new laptop, which is great. And at number 1, we have the Fusion development engine. This is something that was released as a beta on the 1st of April 2026, and on the 19th of April it went live. And this is a Linux engine built by Huawei for HarmonyOS PC. And for me, this is the story of spring 2026, because it's a huge thing for developers to have access to Linux on the HarmonyOS. So it's basically like WSL or Windows subsystem for Linux. OpenEuler is based on Red Hat, so if you're familiar with Fedora or Red Hat Enterprise, this will be familiar to you. So this means that in the OpenEuler environment, we can run full RPM patches, DNF, YUM, GCC, Python, Node.js, etc., the complete dev toolchain. And it's actually very smooth. Obviously, it's virtualized, so it's not native, but in my experience, it's actually really fast, really snappy, and I'm really happy with it so far. It makes it possible for me to run, for example, Kimicode or Claude. And it didn't take long until someone started releasing apps on the app gallery. For example, they released the OpenClaw HarmonyOS app, which basically just runs some commands in the OpenEuler environment and then opens a website on your local device. But it's cool. That means that with this capability, there's a lot of new apps that can be made. The development will go faster. People will probably start using the HarmonyOS PC as a development machine more and more, because now you can actually do everything, I think. So this is, together with Flutter, this is a huge improvement for developers on HarmonyOS. Right now, OpenEuler is the only one supported, but there is no technical limitation for why it couldn't support Ubuntu or Debian, for example. So let's see. I think we will have more distributions in the future that you can swap out however you want to. With Fusion development engine and with the new MateBook 14, I think Huawei is saying like, okay, this is HarmonyOS PC is not for early adopters or people that like to try. This is actually something that you can use as a full-time development machine or a full-time PC OS from now on, which is great. So it means that we hopefully will have an explosion in PC apps soon, and we will see more projects, more cool open source stuff. So I'm really excited about this. That's why for me, it's a clear number 1 on this spring list. That's it. We have Fusion in at number 1, MateBook 14 at number 2. Number 3, we have Flutter. Number 4, we have the Pura X Max. And on number 5, we have the AI glasses. I think this spring and summer, we will see a lot of new cool things rolling out, especially in the software space, which makes me very happy. That's it. If you want some more information about some of these products, or you want me to look into some of them more, I might do that, unless they are too expensive. Otherwise, goodbye. See you again.